Okay, so hi, officially.
Hello.
Yay. We're back from outer space. How are midterms? Is everybody okay?
Surviving, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the first item on the agenda, I'm just going to dive right in, is Instagram. So some updates there. And of course, Kay, if I missed anything making the agenda, please let me know. So we're still going through the direct contact approach with Meet Our Members. I haven't actually committed that much of my time to Meet Our Members specifically recently, but I'm hoping to do so next week, or at least in the next 2 weeks. What I have been doing instead is putting energy into like Takeover Tuesdays and trying to get people involved there. What Kay and I talked about was trying to have the next 6 months planned out, essentially, which would take us to, I believe it's September, to the end of September, I think. Let me check one more time, just to make sure. Yeah, the end of September, which I think would be a really good way to kind of stack it out. So at minimum, we need 10 more people. We already have 2 people. We have Hannah March Sanders for next month, and then I can't remember who it is for May, or no, yeah, who is it for May? Kay, do you remember?
I don't remember either. I think Zainab said yes, though, right?
Yeah, Zainab did say yes. Yeah, so that brings me to the other group of people. So I've already invited people that I knew personally, and the way that I came up with this was I went through our members list specifically, and then I tried to be like as random as possible. So I made a list of people who looked pretty active on Instagram, you know, and then I picked like every 7th person on that list of people. And so I invited Eliana, Eugene Sarmiento, Jennifer Mack Watkins, John Rhodes Pruitt, Juana Estrada, Raylene Cow, Zainab Saab, and Tanya Cruz, and or Crex. My brain wants to say it in a Hispanic way, but I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation. So those are the people I've invited. There are a handful of people that are on my list that I don't know personally, so I thought I would check in with y'all to see if you know them. I've heard back in the affirmative from 5 people about them applying from the people that I invited, and then Jennifer Mack Watkins said not right now, so I'm hopeful that we'll get our 10 pretty soon. And then I know Raylene is on hiatus from their Instagram, so I don't know when they'll get back to us or if they will. But I'm not going to put too much pressure on them because, you know, if Instagram's not serving them, I'm not going to be like, come back. So the people to be invited, I know Kay said that they would invite Share Musico and Delara. And then the other 3 people that I don't know personally are Jungmin Lee. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I can also type it in the chat. Maritza Diaz, and then Taro Takazawa. I don't know if anybody knows these people individually. No. If not, I can just reach out to them through the guild page. I just wanted to check and see, because sometimes it's a little less weird to have like a organization reach out to you than just to have your friend. So one thing I'd like to ask for here while we're talking about the takeovers is if y'all have any suggestions for non-members to reach out to so that I can start doing that. Because I thought about just doing it from my own brain, but then I was like, I have a inherent bias of like the people I've met, and I'd really like to eliminate that bias. So does anybody know anybody I could write down their name?
Let me think about it and come back to you. I have a couple people in my brain, but I just want to make sure it's like super thoughtful. And I will get back to you.
Okay. And also, like, as we go through the meeting, feel free to put the names in the chat too as they occur to you, because like I know it can also be like, I know in my head that I know a person, but I don't remember if they're active on Instagram or if they're, if this would even serve them, But yeah, if y'all could please try to get those to me as soon as possible, it'll make it a lot easier for me to reach out to those people and get them scheduled in a way that's not like super front loaded or super biased. Because that's my biggest thing, is I don't want to front load a month with members and then front load another month where it's like 55. Like, what? 55 is a random number, but it's like 4 people who aren't members who already have a pretty established reputation. I want to try and even it out as much as possible based on people's availability.
I was gonna say, I feel like even if we pick people, that's still gonna be a bias because we're picking people we know. So I know it would be a bit more work, but maybe we put out a call for non-members. I know it might be a little bit harder for non-members to see our stuff, but I feel like that's a judicious way of trying to find people. Also for non-members, if we're trying to find not as established people, like trying to give a platform, maybe we just say students or emerging artists apply only. I don't know.
Sorry, I was writing that down. So what I have been doing is whenever we do promote it, I do say like, you don't have to be a member for this call. I think the thing that's really working against us is that we don't have a deadline. And because of that, I think a lot of people look at it and they go, yeah, I would like to do this, but I don't know when. And then also I was talking to somebody and they were like, my imposter syndrome made me feel like it would be weird for me to apply to this. And then also the fact that we use the word apply makes it sound like we might say no, which, I mean, I think the only time we would say no is like, well, we can't do that month because it's full, So that's kind of where I'm concerned about with that, is we've kind of tried to emphasize the non-members. We did get one person who reached out on Instagram from India, actually, who would like to do it. So I let them know if they needed any help with like translations, I'd try to help out. But other than that, I think the biggest thing is we don't have a deadline. So, and I don't want to add a deadline because that's not really how it works. You know what I mean? I don't know how to phrase that.
I mean, the deadline could be added for like a special, a special call. Like, since we know we need non-members, we put out a special call for non-members and we give them a deadline to apply in this one instance, and we still have our one with the rolling deadline. So it's not like eliminating one or the other. So that way, if people want to do it right now in this time frame that we're giving, they can do it. And if people can't work that time frame, they can still do one of them.
Yeah, because as soon as I started saying to people, yeah, we're trying to, get the next 6 months scheduled out, more people started replying to me and we're like, yeah, okay. So I think, I don't know. Kay, did you have something to say about that idea?
I was also just gonna say that maybe we could put in the post that we review applications on X date every month. Like, it can still be like an open, like rolling call, but we can say like, just give them something at least to I guess like work up against. Like, okay, I know I have another week until they're going to be looking at applications, so I need to get that in. Like, we could build that into the post as well. And I also like Olivia's idea of like making it specific for like just students or just non-members or like undergrad students or grad students or like whatever. Like, I think that sounds really targeted and good.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to phrase it, is to call it like a review deadline, because that way people understand like it's a review deadline for everybody, not just, this group of people or that group of people. And that also might make it a little bit easier on our end to make sure we're checking the calls. Like, I check them at least a couple times a week, but there's no structure, I guess, to it. So I think it would be good to have that kind of structure where it's like saying, okay, yeah, you applied today, but we're not going to get back to you until this point. So now you have the ability to project when you should hear from us, you know, instead of just going, okay, I sent it in. Mm-hmm. So, okay, that's a good idea, is to put in a review deadline and then say it's a rolling call. Okay. Cool. And then some people have wanted to be like associated with diversity holidays, which has been nice. And then other people haven't, and that's also fine. The only real difference is when we promote them, we say, you know, celebrating Women's History Month, or we just don't say it at all, you know? So I think that's going pretty well. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is that Kay and I talked about this on our own, but we've kind of dialed back the posting pressure. So instead of trying to get a post out every day, we're trying to get, you know, posts out when they're relevant. So because of that, I'm not like every single Friday sending out the Meet Our Members call, because the information's not necessarily changing. Obviously next Friday I will, because we've changed some information. Or not Meet Our Members, I'm sorry, Takeover Tuesdays, which is a Monday thing. And then I think it doesn't really serve us to force ourselves to post. Like, it would be nice if we had to Meet Our Members every Friday, but I also think it's okay to just say Friday is for Meet Our Members if we have them. Same with the videos. Henry's been putting those up for us, and they just pay attention to the newsletter, and then if there's a meeting described on the newsletter, they reach out, or Ruben will send them a message letting them know that there's a YouTube video to promote. But I don't know. I don't think we've seen, and Kay, you might be able to correct me here, but I don't think we've seen a decline in engagement because of us not posting every day. I think it's pretty much the same level. Like, the posts that have the hardest time are the voting posts, because they're not like exciting very visually, but they also don't have like people in them. They don't have much variety to them. So spacing them out a little bit kind of helps people engage with them. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Kay?
Yeah, I feel like the Takeover Tuesday posts are usually really active, and people tend to engage with those a lot. And I've noticed also that people really like whenever we feature them in the story. Like, we're just seeing that a member or a follower is doing something really awesome, and we just like shout them out, and they respond to that like really warmly. And yeah, it takes some of the pressure off to just like post a bunch of things that feel like uncoordinated. It's just things that we see, which are like good, but also, you know, we don't have to post something every single day, which is really nice. Yeah, and I think as we continue to get Takeover Tuesdays, like the more that people do that, I think people will be more willing to apply, because they know sort of like what the bar is, or like they know what to expect. So the more that we post, I think the more people will start applying, because the last person that did a takeover was Emily, and I believe Emily applied. Like, I don't think she really has any affiliation with us. Maybe she does. Yeah, that's what I thought. And she just reached out to us and asked if she could do it. And then we have another person who did the same. Oh, she's a member. Okay. Still, she like did the application, and I think Susanna, is like one of the next people that is doing a takeover, and she also just was like, I'd like to do this. And that wasn't us reaching out to them, like they just went for it. So the more that followers and members see takeovers happening, I think the more engagement we'll have with that.
And I also think with something that I've seen a lot of returns from is the newsletter, like having that reminder constantly, not constantly, but that stable reminder that says like, hey, these calls are still open, you know, that has definitely garnered some interest as well, which is cool. Not just in that, but in other, not just in the takeover specifically, but in other parts of the program too. So One thing I actually wanted to ask y'all about while we were here that Kay just reminded me of is Hannah asked a question about their takeover, about her takeover, asking kind of whether or not I'm looking at the email right now, so whether or not the takeover should focus on, they would like their takeover to focus on sharing the accounts and images of BIPOC printmakers and help highlight them instead of just showing their own work. That is something that we've put in the call, but it is like, this will be the first person who really leans into that. And so she said that she would like to reach out to the people to see if she can take their posts and kind of move them into the visual domain. So I wanted to know what y'all thought about that as well. Oh, and Hannah is a member, and so is Blake, I believe. So, yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe whoever she decides to reach out to would be interested in like also working directly with us so that we can have them, like give them the spotlight also, you know, like for a full day if they wanted. That's like, it feels a little funky, like, to be honest. I'm just trying to figure out how to like maybe you know, like make it so that it's not just like one single post of their work, or if they would be interested in like taking over for a full day, maybe we could invite them to do that.
It's actually interesting because I'm looking at the list now and I have reached out to at least one person to do a takeover. Several other people are members of the group. And then one person is actually a friend of mine, a personal friend. So there's part of me that's like, I understand the motivation from Hannah and Blake too, if Blake is involved in this decision, but I also think it's important, and I don't want to force Hannah to do this, but I also think it's important to point out that diversity and intersectionality also includes motherhood. And that's a lot of what Hannah's work kind of focuses on, is that aspect of motherhood. I understand where she's coming from. It may be that she feels uncomfortable using the platform to promote herself because she does have a relatively strong following, a strong presence, etc. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I also had some fuzzy feelings about this, specifically because I honestly think that these people, if they were interested in engaging in the guild, we should reach out to them individually so that they have their own agency in the way that they're promoted. But I don't know, I kind of want to bounce that idea around with everybody else.
If that's in our language for the takeovers, I think maybe we should eliminate that, because I don't think that is a, I think it problematizes a lot of things. It's centering white voices in a discussion about diversity and inclusion. And I know Hannah is super well-meaning and she truly does just want to lift up others, but it gives that kind of white savior narrative. And like you said, I think we've even reached out to some of the people that they want to promote. So maybe it's just us trying harder to get those people and asking Hannah and Blake if he's part of it, like you said, and future participants to focus on their work. And then in that, they can always talk about people they're influenced by or people's work they're like really interested in at the moment. But I think taking your time and having your name affiliated and your brand essentially affiliated with the lifting up of Black and brown voices and just marginalized voices is going to be problematic.
Yeah, I think that one of the, I can't open up the call currently just because my like internet is being poopy, but I remember when like Kaylin and John, like whenever they were posting, like they specifically wanted to like shout out like other Indigenous printmakers, and that felt okay. But yeah, I agree. Like it does feel like it's sort of like capitalizing on something that maybe like again we could absolutely feature them in their own space with their own like spotlight, rather than like trying to like Olivia was saying, like affiliate. I'm just trying to think of times where like it also happened, but those are the only two that I can like think of when Kaylin and John did it.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, their purpose as well was they did that within sharing their own work, and they were specifically talking about people who were influencing them, not necessarily picking people who just fit their idea of who needs to be highlighted. You know what I mean? And again, I do think the intentions here are good, but I don't think that this is necessarily this isn't the appropriate vehicle for that kind of decision, because the takeovers in and of themselves, I think, are beneficial. And so I'm kind of writing down notes on what to say in response. I do think it's a good idea for us to actually reach out to these people and let Hannah know that that's what we're going to do. But I also think it's just a little bit odd because it's taking agency from them. And similar to what we decided with like Cam, I didn't, when that comment was left, I didn't want to speak for Cam, unless Cam asked for that, because in my personal life, I would also expect an agency to talk to me first about anything that comes up and see what I want to do instead of speaking for me. And I think in this kind of way, it's a little bit speaking for, not elevating, if that makes sense. And I think it also runs the risk of feeling really performative. And that's not really what I want. It's a little bit less, I'm not saying it's less genuine, but again, with the two people who did it before, they were actively talking about influences in their lives and in their own work, and not necessarily like, let's say if I did a takeover, I would most definitely talk about Yayoi Kusama, but that's different than me talking about, let's say, Olivia's work, right? Like, we're friends. I would love everyone in the world to look at Olivia's work, but it doesn't necessarily, like, I wouldn't be doing it from a point of this is an influential, direct influence to my work. And, that's kind of a permeable wall because we like talk to each other. So naturally you are an influence, but you know what I mean? It's a little bit different in quality, in the quality of the decision making there. Does that make sense? Okay, I feel like I've wandered into a weird place. So I think what I will do is, so Olivia, you had really good points on that and were really articulate about it. Would you mind helping me draft that email? Just because I tend to go a little soft on things. And I don't necessarily, like, I'm not going to be like, and I don't think we should, but I do think it's a good idea to use the right language in this situation to make it clear what our discomfort is with it. Okay, cool. I'm going to make a note of that. Okay. Sorry, I'm reorienting myself to what we're doing. Thank you all for your thoughts on that, because that was very helpful. I think it definitely helped me settle what it was within myself that was like, I don't know about this one. And then, Kay, would you, actually, this might need to swap. I don't know. let me know if y'all think this should swap. But I was going to ask Kay if you would go back into the call and kind of look at that original language and rephrase it or remove it. But now I'm thinking maybe Olivia would rather do that. I don't know. And then maybe Kay would prefer to help me with the email. It's whatever works for y'all, honestly, whatever feels more comfortable. Or we could all three do it together.
Yeah, maybe we can all take a stab at it. Like, I'd be happy to like just try and then run it by other sets of eyes, but working together on it works for me too, if y'all have time to do that.
Cool. All right, so we'll all three look at that. Sorry, I got trapped in a piece of paper. Okay, so I think as far as I'm aware, I think that's all with Instagram, but I'm very likely to have forgotten something. Kay, is there anything else we want to talk about?
That's all that I had. You hit it all.
Perfect. Okay, so then the last is a real quick update. Rise and pull, all packages have been returned. I don't know if we sent out an email announcing that, but we can if we haven't already. Does anybody know if we have? I might actually look in our
I don't think we have actually, because I think I was talking with Joe last week and I saw his email and then I did nothing else with it. So yeah, maybe like a quick little, I'd be happy to do that. I can just like send out like a quick little thing to the artists and let them know that they should receive their packages within the next week or two.
Perfect. I'm writing that down. All right, hopefully everybody's gotten them already. I did reply to like one person individually who had asked to get their stuff earlier, but that was it because I wasn't sure if anybody else had heard. All right, so that's it for Rise and Pull. I want everybody to clap. We did a good job. It was great. There were some communication things that we'll next time be aware of and kind of move into like ways to improve the way that it kind of goes next time. But I think overall for our first go around, like good job, you know? Yeah, it was a really good opportunity. I'm very grateful for Joe. It was also wild because people kept trying to like add to it, you know, and which was nice, but it was also like, whoa, we're not ready for this yet. So I think that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, just overall, good job, everybody. So next is mailing. And I have one thing here, just in general. So I did send out an email to only one of the mailing list participants, the volunteers, just kind of articulating that my personal preference for the mailing list to be updated is on Mondays or Sundays, if possible, just so I have the most current group of people when I go to send out the newsletter on Tuesdays. I've pretty much every time I've sent out a newsletter, I've gotten at least one response from an individual, and it's never the same individual. So I do think that newsletter is being read and understood, and that's really exciting. It's also a little bit easier for us all to kind of have a day to say, oh, I need you to tell the people this, you know. So I did tell one person that, but I haven't told anybody else that. And then I did CC both Stephanie and Ruben on that so that they see the whole formatting of the email that I sent out. But other than that, I wanted to just check in with Steph and see what your progress is and how we can kind of help in that area as needed. So.
I mean, I think just I individually, as usual, am just overwhelmed because I overbooked myself. And I try to get better, but somehow I'm always still buried in a hole. So I don't know why that keeps happening to me. I need to say no more, I guess. But Yeah, if we could get a schedule and just get some of the volunteers to help more, that would be great. You replying to the email was huge and super helpful, and I think sometimes it's hard for me to admit when I need help. So I'm really sorry about that. But just yeah, if we could just get a schedule, and because I know that Clarissa had said originally that she had wanted to continue to help, and then of course Jameson, and then me and Ruben. I believe that's it. Um, which is totally fine. But yeah, if we were all doing like if we were each doing a week instead of, yeah, if we could each just do a week, so then I just had it on my planner that like, okay, this Monday or this Sunday of this week is my week to do it. That would be much more manageable. But I don't know, is that kind of what you're wanting to talk about in here? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I wanted to just see if there was any additional, like, if you needed help with MailChimp, or I'm trying to remember the other thing that I can't
Yeah,
remember
I
right
really
now.
and I yeah, and I really do want to get that going. This semester has just been surprisingly, I feel like it's always surprisingly a lot, but it's a lot. I would love to get that going. I need to just put it on my schedule and make time for it is the ultimate thing. Yeah, so maybe I can try to schedule like an hour to work on that at some point, or like if more than if it was like me and I don't know, someone else working on it together at the same time, that would make it less I don't know, intimidating. Like we could talk through things together. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think Ruben is your secondary.
Yes.
So check with Ruben first, just so y'all are both on the same page. But like, if that doesn't work, then I mean, Kay offered to help, but I can also help in those areas
Okay.
because I'm super curious about MailChimp, specifically for the
Mhm.
newsletters. Like, I'm like, can we automate this?
Yeah. So you
That would be
absolutely
real
can,
cool.
and yeah, you can. And that's why it would be really great to get that, because then basically after you type the letter, you just tell MailChimp when you want. Yeah, just like with email, I guess you schedule it to go out, and
Okay.
yeah, yeah. We just need to do it, and I think if I did it with someone else and not just by myself, that would be more motivating.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think I mean, Ruben's not here, so I don't want to put too much on him, but I know that was kind of my personal intention with the two people. Was I knew
Right.
that, you know, things are going to get wild, especially because of, like, not just because of COVID, but last year specifically was like, whoa, you
Mhm.
literally never know what's going to happen. So I think
Mhm.
it's good to rely on him, but also me, because, I can help if that ever happens, if there's ever like a question of, I'm actually going to type this because it's not so much about the meeting structure itself and more about my brain structure. But definitely, I'm here to help you whenever I can. So,
Mhm. I appreciate that. I'll try to be more honest about my limitations.
well, also just, I think it might help to make these things feel more social too. Like, Kay and I talk to each other pretty much every day.
Mhm.
And that specifically is just because I'm constantly like, Kay, what are we doing? Where are we?
Mhm.
What's happening? I have a question. And then
Mhm.
Kay helps me with that. And that's mostly just my own brain. Um,
Yeah. I think sometimes that's really hard for me because I get really overwhelmed with my phone and how much I have to do. So it can be really hard to communicate all the time. And I don't get if you don't have an iPhone, I don't get your messages when I'm at the school because I don't have service
oh,
there, which is
yeah.
great. It's just like um an added thing. But yeah, it's just overwhelming lately. So Yeah, if I could just make like a day or like several hours on one day of talking with someone else, that would be great. So I'll figure that out and I'll talk to Ruben.
Yeah, for sure. And then of course, like, don't ever feel like you can't say, Becky, what? Because I'm here and I have the time to help and the patience, and I have a familiarity with having to fully structure a day every single time that you have to do a new thing. So, yeah. But I think overall, it's just kind of getting the schedule is what I'm hearing from you. So I can help with that in the first like parts of it. So would that involve specifically down to like the tax of it? Would that involve me replying to the message that the last kind of prompting message with them?
That would be super helpful. Yeah, the beginning of the semester's been wild, and then of course midterm happening. And I'm hoping hoping the second half will be much less intense.
I also hope that.
How long do y'all have
dream.
left? Like, is it like a couple weeks or is it like 6 weeks?
For school to end?
Yeah.
It'll be like May 7th is our last day of classes, and then the week after that is finals.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
So I guess the 14th will be free of May.
Freedom.
Yeah, and we don't have a spring break, so there's no break.
Us either. Yeah, I feel like that break, I didn't know how much I needed it until I didn't have it, you know? Yeah, I just want to like affirm that it has been like really hard, like on top of like teaching, and then like you said, like not having service, and then there's like COVID stuff to worry about, and like trying to get vaccinated, and just like literally everything else. And this being like a brand new org, like it is incredibly overwhelming and rough, and I feel you. And yeah, I can definitely help however.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so cool. I have it on my schedule to reply to that email, and then I will, sorry, I'm being redundant, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I will reply to that and make sure to keep everybody CC'd on it. And then I'll also Ruben's going to watch this. So there's no reason for me to, yeah, never mind. So yeah, that's what I will do. And then let me know if anything else comes up that I can help with. Okay, so then the next team is incorporation. We have 2 votes in progress right now. The big things we're doing as a team are looking for lawyers and accountants, and then we're also starting to look at funding opportunities and trying to figure out like what can kind of get scheduled in as far as giving us kind of a head start so that we can afford to do some stuff with programming, which would be really great. So the team itself is looking for that, but also if y'all at any point encounter any funding that sounds like it would be great for the organization, that would be really cool. And then our next step there is revising the bylaws for teams specifically, and then also drafting the members section, if I'm remembering right. And then Kay, did you have anything to add to that area? I kind of blew through it, but.
Nope, that sounds great to me.
Cool. Okay. So then the next one is design. I sent out an email with the deadlines there. They were kind of soft deadlines, so I wanted to check and see, Stephanie, if they were helpful. I don't know if they were, because I was trying to keep them like fuzzy enough that they could fit into people's schedules because we're at midterms. But yeah, are those kind of deadlines helpful, or should I give them like specific days, or what do you think would work better in that area?
Yeah.
Oh, and Olivia too. I'm sorry.
Olivia's the primary. Yeah.
Yes, my bad.
It's okay. I agree with Steph that well, actually, I don't think she actually said it, but I prefer hard deadlines. That way there's no, well, I still have time to do this and it'll get done when it actually needs to. Because the way I work is deadline oriented. So if I have two things, but one of them is like, even if one thing is more important, but it's due later, I will absolutely do the thing that's due first. So.
Okay, so I can definitely work that in. I will say the two ASAP things will kind of go back into later. But the biggest thing for me right now is the social event planning. Designs need to be like, I would really like a design for that as soon as possible so you can start promoting it. And then it would be nice to have something to put into the mailing list as well. But at the very least, that does communicate priority, but I can go back into that and give specific dates. Or if you would prefer, you can also do specific dates on your own. And then I know design wanted to do a meeting and Stephanie was scheduling that. I know that we now have Twan and Barbara both with replies. Sorry, I'm reading the email. I guess I could share my screen, but it feels weird to do that with people's emails. So Tuesday through Friday after 5. So it seems like evenings and weekends for Barb. And then evenings and weekends for Twan as well. And y'all are all in the same time zone, right? No, Olivia's not. Okay. Okay. So is there
East Coast, so it wouldn't be that dramatic of a time. Well, it would only be 2 hours difference instead of 3, which doesn't sound like it should be that dramatic.
Who did you say is on the East Coast?
I said no one is.
Oh, no one. Okay. I was like, who is?
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
if no one's on it, the 2 hours won't be as bad. And even though 3 hours is only 1 more hour than 2, yay math. It's somehow that much more dramatic. I don't know how.
I agree.
So yeah, that should be fine. Evenings for the most part work for me as well. And I prefer not to do things on weekends, but I don't think we're gonna be able to avoid it.
I think just looking at Twan's time, because Twan's time is more specific than Barb's, it looks like Monday will probably work the best, because on Monday, Twan is available anytime, and then Barb is available after 6 p.m. I also think maybe Fridays looks good for both of them. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said Fridays work for me because we don't have classes on Friday.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's the same for me. I was going to say I actually teach night classes mostly. I teach every night. So I'm not free until like 8 p.m. But Fridays I do not. So Fridays are perfect.
Okay. So maybe the first meeting can be, or maybe, I actually have a question about this. Is this I have 7 questions. Hold on. I'm organizing them. So would this be a standing Friday meeting where it's like every 2 weeks on Friday we meet? Is that a comfortable thing for y'all? That's my first question.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then if there's nothing to talk about that week, we can tentatively be like, there's no news to talk about, or we touch base for like a brief amount of time and then we're done. Like it doesn't always have to be a long meeting. That
sounds perfect. Okay. The reason I'm asking, because I'm not trying to step on toes, but I'm asking because it occurred to me recently when I was typing out that email, different groups are commissioning these designs. Most of it's Instagram, I'm going to be honest, but it's also like, do y'all want, would it help with effectivity and efficiency to have a person who is on one of those teams that's commissioning whatever design to be there with you while you meet? Or would it be just, or does it depend, or would it just be the design team? That is my question.
Personally, I don't feel like someone else outside of design needs to be there, especially if they're just clear in what they want for the beginning. And a lot of the time with design, it is checking in with your client, I put that in air quotes, to see if they like the designs and everything like that. So I don't think there needs to be extra people, because I think that'll also just complicate the meeting time schedule.
Okay, cool. So I have an idea now of how the meetings will function, and then what is the general idea for like length? That's just a question because I'm curious. It's got nothing to do with anything. I'm just curious.
I feel like an hour max, mainly just because, yeah. And I mean, obviously it's going to be a little bit fluid. If there's like a bigger project, it might take a little bit longer, but I doubt there will be a big like a big project anytime soon. So probably like an hour max.
Okay, perfect. So, sorry, I have a million questions, but my next question is, would it be helpful for y'all if I put the standing meeting date onto our Google Calendar so that it like automatically sends out reminders? Or is that something y'all want to do like scheduled emails for, or how? Is there something I can do to help with that, I guess, is my question. And if so, what is it? So Stephanie says both might help. Does that sound good to you, Olivia? Okay. Put on calendar and recurring emails. All right. So I am going to put y'all in charge of sending out the email reminders, but I'm going to put it on the calendar. Is that okay? Yeah. Is that okay? Okay. Okay. I think I can set the reminders to like remind you the day before. Is that better than reminding you the day of?
Yeah, I think that would be better.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. So I can make that for y'all. And then let me look at the email. I don't know if this is helpful or if I'm just like chewing my cud twice, you know? But I want to just get my eyeballs on the email one more time to make sure I'm not forgetting to address something. Okay, so we already talked about like specific deadlines. Yeah, so the 2 are volunteers needed, and then the open studio night promotion. The open studio night promotion is the top priority. So whenever y'all meet the first time, which I guess, do you want it to just be next Friday?
Well, I don't necessarily, I don't know if I'll be able to be at that meeting, but I don't know if you guys can make that, that's fine. I don't always have to, you know, we all don't always have to be there. I just have something already scheduled Friday coming up.
I that's not something I can answer right on the spot. I'll have to look. I'll have to look at my calendar and see.
Okay, then just let me know. I'm gonna put waiting for the first date. So I did send this to both Tuan and Barbara. I haven't gotten a reply from either of them. I, Does the priority ranking help? Where I say like high priority, mid priority, etc. Yes. Okay. Cool. Cool. And then I
assign the priority by due date, I think.
Okay. Yeah. What I've been doing is kind of, so what it looks like here is it's chunked out as high priority, and then I didn't give it a specific date. But then the mid priority, I tried to give it like 2 specific dates. So by the end of this month or the second week of April at the latest. So, okay, so I can kind of do that. And then I think it'll get easier as things get kind of dealt with, because I think, I see what you're saying, Stephanie. But I think it would get easier as we go along, because things will start to get finished, and then it'll become more like as needed, if that makes sense. Which I think will make it easier for us to come up with dates. And then I think, would it be helpful, that's my other question, would it be helpful to put who is asking for the design? Like which team is asking for the design? Just so y'all know who to talk to.
Yes, please. Sorry.
Because I didn't put that on before, so I can do that. So I will retype, sorry, my nephews are here. I will retype the projects and general timeline. And then I think that what I will do, well, I don't know. Do y'all need me to do anything else beyond that?
I don't really know off the top of my head. Honestly, I think it's going to be just moving through and seeing what needs to change and then reaching out. I don't think we need to allocate too much time of the like meeting time to this. We can try and figure things out on via email also.
Okay, cool. And just let me know if you need me to hop in. Sorry, Steph. Let me know if you need anything else from me, because I know it's just in my head for some reason. That's just where it's all kind of accumulated. And then I think the next group, unless we have more to talk about with design, but I don't know. The next group is YouTube. Are we good to go ahead and move on there? Perfect. Okay. Okay, cool. So with YouTube, I texted Ruben earlier today to see if he had anything to bring up. And so what he told me is he has created, like cleaned up the YouTube a little bit. So there are playlists or categories now. And then he also told me that he made a Google Doc. Let me see it. He made a Google Doc of any eventual, he phrased this better than me. I'm sorry that I'm sounding like this, but he's created a Google Doc that has any kind of like eventual playlists that we might have, anything like that. And so he just wanted everybody to know where he was at with that. Yeah, I'm excited about it. But he also said that it's probably a good idea if we're prioritizing incorporation above like new programming. And I do kind of agree with him there. Yeah. I'm looking to see what else he said, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, so this doc is basically a place where we can brainstorm ideas to really expand the scope of the YouTube page. But yes, so that's pretty much it. And then one other thing about YouTube, so they have a new volunteer who reached out after one of the newsletter emails, which is really great. I feel like I probably should have put the "we need volunteers" call on there a million years ago, but it's been kind of great because people are answering that call. And so for that reason, YouTube now Ruben feels that they have enough volunteers there. So So that's fantastic. Yay. And then I don't know if there's anything else for YouTube. I don't think that there is. I hope I didn't miss anything or skim over anything. But if so, you can always reach us by text or Discord. So the last thing on our list is, no, it's the second to last, is social event planning. So we have announced the dates and times. I announced them in a newsletter last week. And then the emphasis on we really do need to go ahead and make a design to promote this. I do think specifically it would be good to have a design to promote it, but we also need something I forgot to put on the agenda is we need a like Google form for us to get emails for them. Because I do believe that's what we talked about, was just not having it behind like a paywall or anything, but having it behind an engagement wall of like, you got to ask us for the thing. And I think it would be easier to do that through a Google form than it would be through individual emails, because that would put a lot of the onus on the mailing list team, and that's maybe too much. What do y'all think about that?
Has anyone ever used Eventbrite before? That might be something, because like then it's like a date, I don't know, it's like another new thing to learn, so maybe this is a bad idea, but it like doesn't clog up the email address, or no, sorry, not the address, the inbox, you know, and it's not like we have to like, actually I don't know that it doesn't do that. My thought is it probably has like a list of people housed in Eventbrite rather than it like clogging up the inbox, but now that I'm saying that out loud, I think it might be wrong. If it's all right with y'all, I'm gonna look into it and just see if it's an option. Because I just feel like the inbox gets really full, and then it's hard to like find things, you know, and I know we're doing the best we can to organize, but it would be really cool if all of those emails were like, anyone who's interested is all sort of like in one place, and we can just email everybody with a link or whatever. I guess Google Forms does that too, but I just wanted to like throw Eventbrite out there as well.
Okay. I mean, another option we have is that we don't have to manually email it out. We could just put it on the thanks for signing up page, like, you know, the thing that it displays at the end of the survey for Google Forms. I don't know how y'all feel about that, because it is a little bit like, it's easier on us as far as infrastructure goes, but I'm also like, I don't know. What do y'all think about that idea? Yeah, they might lose the link. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay. Yeah, okay, if you could look into Eventbrite, that would be helpful. Yes, this is for the studio event, the open studio.
Yeah, like Facebook is always nice because it's like housed in one place, you know, and I think it allows you to like do your own events, but we don't have a Facebook and I don't really want to add that to our plates. I'm also just trying to think like what is familiar to people. And I think using whatever's familiar to them, however they usually get Zoom links and however they sign up to things, is our best bet.
Hang on, I'm Googling it right now. Just to see.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say there's one I've used for, and I don't think it's Eventbrite. Again, I've only been a participant. But sorry, I'm looking for the email right now. I'm in this kitchen table talks, and they sent it a specific way. All right, let me look. Sorry, multitasking post-COVID has been very difficult. Let me look for this, and then when I find it, I'll bring it back up.
Perfect. So I'm looking at this like, oh, ew, Eventbrite cost money. Sorry for the ew, but yeah, boo, indeed. So maybe not Eventbrite. The usual methods of Facebook. I mean, we are going to use Instagram, but we're not just going to post it publicly on Instagram. This is when it would be really great if we had a website. But that's definitely a whole other conversation. So this person, this website does say that if we have email subscribers, we can use our newsletter as a promotional tool, which I do intend to do. But they don't really have any advice about confirmation emails or anything like that. I do think with this specifically, we should definitely over communicate. I think what we've learned from the last couple of like programming that we've done is it's really important to be as redundant as possible to try and reach as many audiences as possible, but also just to remind people. So I think I can also, at the very least, like we can do an email campaign. And when I say email campaign, I don't mean like individually emailing people, but like what I've started doing is doing like scheduled emails for takeovers specifically, so that I don't have to remember to send them the password or any additional information. And so I've scheduled those out. And I'm wondering, because you can schedule out as far in advance as you want, from what I can tell. So I'm wondering if maybe we should schedule out a series of emails that are reminding people about the social event. And then I just saw what you said, Kay. We could do a Google form and set up an email rule to push all emails pertaining to the event to go to a folder that we can refer to. Yeah, or like a file, kind of like when they sign up for the mailing list. That was kind of where I was thinking. And then essentially it would just be like the way that the mailing team is checking to add people to the mailing list. We just kind of look and see like maybe every Monday or every day, let's pick a day of the week. Let's say every Thursday we send out emails to people who signed up since last Thursday.
That sounds good. Yeah, and like whenever the like responses populate in a sheet, yeah, I guess sheets for Google, you can just like select a full column, which will be the emails. You can just select all of that, put it in a BCC it, and then you've got like a giant list. I don't think that you can like reply all, so you'll just have to do that every single time that you want to like schedule out an email. I think that works. I think it seems like the most efficient way. I know, Olivia, you said that you might know of something and you were looking for it, so I don't want to like decide it before we look into that option, but yeah.
I was just typing in the chat. I did find it. It's literally just, so what I was remembering was there was a registration form, and after that it was just an email, but they had all of their dates pre-planned. So it's just an email with each date and the topic, and then at the bottom it's a reoccurring Zoom link. So I think what you said is fine.
Word. That is exciting. I'm so freaking excited about that. I think, so I have a question, I guess, to the guild in general. Well, not to the guild in general, we're just 4 people. To the board in general, who logistically wants to take on this component of the social event planning? So specifically, it'd be great if it was 2 people. But specifically, who is going to take on the emailing campaign? Actually, let's start at the very beginning. Who would like to draft the Google form? I'm okay being involved in that.
Would you mind if we ask this either through the group chat or like Discord or something, that way Ruben can be part of it instead of after the fact? Just in case he actually wants to do it and there's someone who says they'll do it because there's only 4 of us in this room. Or if none of us want to do it and he gets stuck with it. So I'd rather just wait until we're all together to pose this question.
Okay, so I'm writing out the question that I just said, and I have forgotten what I said. What did I say? Sorry.
Drafting the Google form and drafting the scheduled emails. And then I think we also need the design, which you probably already wrote that down. And then we might want to push that on Instagram as well, which like I'm happy to do since I'm on that team.
Perfect. Are you happy to be, just clarifying question, are you happy to be in charge of pushing it, or did you want to design the image?
Pushing it for sure. Design, it'd be really great if we could like talk to the design team and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood. And Kay, you and I can look at the general posting schedule and kind of think like, okay, because I think there is a day that's dedicated to like upcoming events or something, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so. And then I'd also like to know not just who would like to draft things, but who would like to send those, which is a little bit less of a like full-time task, but it's still time consuming. So I'm going to write that down too. Oh, a better way to say that is who wants to keep up with registration. Words are useful. Okay, so I've written all those questions down, and I will send those out via text after this. So that is that. And then I think that's it for the social event, unless I'm missing some like very glaring thing, which is very probable, to be honest with you. Can anybody think about anything else in that area? Olivia said, speaking of design, 26th of March. Okay. Okay. Got you. I'm going to write that down too. Let me go back to the right page so I don't get wild.
Yeah, the standing meeting depends on if there's a meeting this coming Monday, which has been postponed twice already. So it's very up in the air. It might happen, it might not happen. And I won't know until Monday/Wednesday.
Okay. Okay. Yes, we can talk about time zones. Before we move on to that though, Olivia, I'm just going to put that date. Actually, I'm going to ask both you and Stephanie this. So when I send out the restructured like deadline email, I can also just add in the first meeting information because I'm already sending an email. So I can either say March 26th period, or I could say March 26th or April, whatever. Yeah, thank you. Do you want me to do both dates, or should we just go soonest?
Hold on. Just want to go grab my agenda later.
Okay.
Oh, okay. April 2nd, honestly, for me would be better because we have a reading day that day. And I know Steph already can't do the 26th, so maybe if you could just pose April 2nd to the group.
Okay, that also helps me figure out the timeline. What I might do, and let me know if this is toe steppy, because I don't want to do that. If this is stepping on someone's toes, toe steppy is not how anyone says that phrase. I might just reach out to Tuan individually to get the first graphic done for promoting this. Or if y'all wanted to do that, that would also be fine. Just because I'm worried that if we wait until April, we won't be giving people enough time to basically see this, get it really integrated into their brain. Because the event itself, I believe, is on April 9th. So
I apologize too. I just realized, not to interrupt, that actually I will be out of town on April 2nd too. Every day is blending together. I apologize. And I can try to be on the call on Friday. If it was this coming Friday, it would just be, I might not talk as much because I'll be in the middle of doing something, but I can still like be present and listening with my headphones. So that's an option too. If this upcoming Friday would work better because of the time crunch.
It's just question marky for me is the problem, because I have something my time 1 to 2 p.m. And then that meeting potentially at 6. And honestly, I said 6 to 7, but I do not know how long that would go. But like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen until I know if a meeting's going to happen on Monday or not.
So I have a question about this. I'm looking at my calendar before I say this because I have to be better about volunteering my time to things because I'm not good about that. So would it be helpful if so for Olivia, if you're still with that question mark, which you will be until like Monday or Wednesday, do we go ahead with that date and I can step in if nobody else can make it? Or would that be helpful or would that not help?
I mean, I just know off the top of my head that next Friday is going to be better for me. So I would say just go ahead and do the 2nd. I know that's kind of a quick turnaround. So I'm fine with doing whatever works best for everybody else.
Okay.
Just so this gets done.
Okay. And then instead of maybe canceling on March 26th, just let me know if you need me to run that meeting. And that way Stephanie can still be present. And if I get wild, they can say no, you know, but just text me and let me know. Cause I looked at my schedule and I have a dentist appointment, but it's just like a look at my teeth, look how bad they are kind of appointment, nothing intense. So I should be able to do that. Okay, so I will send it out with March 26th specifically as the first date. And then I'll kind of approximate all deadlines based on that. Does that sound good? Is that okay? Okay, cool. And then I'm also going to text or like private message somehow both Barb and Swan so that they know the look, just because it's been a while since the communication has been up. So it may be that they haven't seen the message. That might be why I didn't get the answer yet. So, or any reply, although I don't think I asked for a reply either. Let me check. I have Barb. I do have Swan. Do I have Swan? Did I save it? I do this thing sometimes where I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to have your phone number, so I don't save it, which then leads to other problems later in my life. Wait, no, that's an email. Yeah, so I don't have Twan's phone number, so if you wouldn't mind, I could do that. Yeah, if they're comfortable with it. Otherwise, I can reach out to them on Instagram. So thank you. Yes, please. I appreciate it. Okay, cool. All right, so I know it's put into that email. And then I'm just gonna shoot for whatever feels right for that deadline. And if that's like a wild, rapid breakneck turnaround, let me know. And we can always make something in between those two times. The one thing I will say is I've been promoting it on the newsletter for a couple of weeks. So if people are reading the newsletter, they'll know. But I also can't speak to exactly how many people are reading the newsletter or not. So it seems like at least 7 people, but you know, I don't know if everybody's reading it all the way through. I tend to skim newsletters, so. Okay, so I think Kay said something about, there we go, talking about how we want to navigate the time zones for the social event. So what specifically do you want to talk about with that, Kay?
I guess I just wanted to make sure that we were all fine with like holding 2 events. Since I don't want to like exclude anybody by just holding one, where if we hold it at like, 6 p.m. Eastern time, like for folks in Central, it works, but then people in Mountain and Pacific time, it just is like way too early. And then likewise, holding something that seems reasonable at Pacific time and then ends up being super late for people on the East Coast. Like, I just want to make sure that we're able to like navigate that in a equitable and efficient way for us. Also, the fact that we have to be at 2 of them. And the idea that I had was basically that we hold one that is reasonable for Central and Eastern, and we hold one event that's reasonable for Pacific and Mountain. And that seemed to go over well in the text messages. I just wanted to make sure that we like decided on that, or if we have another idea, just to make sure we're not like excluding anybody. And yeah, that was it.
The only other thought I had is maybe instead of like 2 events, you just do one super long one, but obviously you don't have to stay for the whole time. So like if it starts at, oh gosh, I have to do a lot of converting in my head real quick. So let's say if it starts at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if people can make it at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard and West Coast, whatever, Pacific time, there we go. If they can make it at 2, perfect. But if not, it could go to like, I don't know, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which would then be 6 p.m. Mountain and Pacific. So there's just like a range. And obviously for all of us that span these time zones, like Becky could be there for 2 hours. And then Kay, Steph, or, oh my God, Ruben. I just wanted to call him like 3 different names just then. I don't know why. Could like come in for other ones, and then maybe I could like stay in for the tail end bit. That instead of doing like multiple, I don't know. That was just a thought.
Could you repeat what the time frame was? I'm sorry, my brain didn't absorb it.
I mean, it was just kind of arbitrary as an example, but like, let's say it goes from 5 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's like a 4-hour, like just kind of open thing. People can come and go as they please, but that way it would be like, it would span enough time. So if people on the East or on the West Coast or in Mountain Standard, if they can make it at 2, that's great, but they have until 6 our time, like my time, Mountain Standard, to participate. So even if that means they're only there for the last hour, at least they were able to be there for a little bit. Or if they have a more flexible schedule on Fridays like I do, they could be there for more of it. So just I'm proposing potentially just one longer meeting. And or like I say meeting, but like gathering is more what I mean. Instead of like 2 shorter ones.
I like that idea. I also was thinking, I thought I was ready to say this. Hold on, I'm not. I was thinking alternation too. Like, to be honest, I do think it would be cool if it was like, maybe not 4 hours, but at least 3 would be cool. Because that's like the span of a class time, you know? That's also just my personal preference because that feels correct, you know? But again, that's because I'm in academia. That's how my brain works. It's in 3-hour increments. But I was thinking what we could do is, oh, you don't think 3 would be long enough? Okay.
Yeah, it starts at 6 y'all's time. That means it starts at 3 our time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it would end at 5 your time, right?
Or like 6 to 9 for 3 hours 6. Roughly.
So 6, yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
Yeah, 6 to 9 would be 3 to 6 our time. And then just me pushing it further and further for East Coast, which isn't hopeful. So that's why I'm like, I don't think 3, if we did 3, you might as well just do 2 sessions. That's 3 hours long. I
Yeah.
think minimum you could get away with is maybe 4 hour long.
Mhm.
I think 5 would be best, but that's why I was just like, it could be rolling, like it was just like an open afternoon, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. If it's
And
rolling,
that,
you can be there when you have time, and then you can dip, and then whoever else can be there for the. So like if everyone can be there for the whole time, the whole 5
Mhm.
hours, that would be great. I mean, we don't have to do that because there's 5 of us, and we could all take over a certain section of time, but.
so I will say, and this might be because I'm not an extrovert, that length of time overwhelms me a little bit, but that also just might be my personal inclinations. But I do think what might be a good compromise is to do alternations. So one that is like based on Eastern Standard Time, one that's based on MST. I do think that would make sense. I don't know how far apart we would want to space them. And yeah, people don't have to be there the whole time. The one thing I'm wondering about is, and I wish Ruben were here for this because he had advocated for us to all be there the whole time. And I can't speak on what his motivation for that was. So that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is something we'll have to revisit at our next meeting as well. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking about the different time frames. Like, would we do them 3 weeks apart? Would we do them? Because I would want them to be weeks and weeks apart. I don't think it's a good idea for us, just based on the amount of things that we personally have to do in our lives, to dedicate like every other week to this. I do think that's a little bit of overcommitment possibly in that arena. I know we could probably be doing something else while we're doing it, but also that's not always how life shakes out. So that's kind of where I get concerned is like, is this a sustainable model that we can keep doing even during midterms, even during final weeks, et cetera, et cetera. And it could be that we just cancel things on those weeks, but that's just kind of my mentality. Someone like one of us, or
Just
so
in
Olivia.
general. So my understanding, sorry, Kate, I'll let you go after this. But my understanding is that you're saying instead of doing one 5-hour meeting that we don't have to be there for the whole 5 hours. We're gonna break them up, and then we'll have them different weeks. So like the first week would be Eastern Standard compatible, and then the next would be Central, and then the next would be Mountain Standard / Pacific. That's not what you're saying. Just Mountain Standard and Eastern Standard. Okay.
My other motivation for that is for our international people. I think that 3-hour time difference might be more compatible for our international people if they wanted to come to something. Most of the international people that I'm aware of that I think would be interested in this are in Canada. They have our same time zones, but there are some people who've also reached out and interacted with the guild or joined the guild that are in South America. And I don't know if they're in the same time zones as us. And then there are some other people who've reached out who are in India, and I have no idea what time zones are like over there. So I feel like maybe we should be doing, yeah, exactly what Kay said. MST and PST are groups, CST and EST are groups until we have a really good notion of the actual time zones that our members are in, just so we do have at least some variety, but it's like manageable variety, something that we can actually address at this point, you know? So that was kind of where I was thinking. Does that answer your question about what if someone can't make their allocated time zone?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I just wanted to interject with a couple of thoughts. So last meeting we had Jennifer with us, which was awesome, and we sort of arrived at this like not like a conclusion, but like an idea that we thought would be best. Like we came to the conversation with like one idea and we left with like something totally different because of some of the things that she was sharing and us just having like a conversation. And so she shared with us like the way that a couple other different organizations have been doing these studio nights. And we also talked about like not reinventing the wheel. And one of the ways that I thought we sort of like, envisioned these events working is as like little bite-sized opportunities for our members to get together and hang out. And so I think I'm like open to either way, like whatever we end up doing. But if we do decide to do like one long one, I really would like to try the bite-sized stuff as well, just because like other people have had a lot of success with it. And I agree, Becky, that 5 hours, I know we wouldn't be there for the whole time, but like anything over 2 hours, I automatically am like, I'm not going to that because it like fatigues me so much to go to something for more than just 2 hours. And another thought I had was that if we, whenever we make the design, I think we should explicitly say like, this event is really long to accommodate as many time zones as possible. And do not feel like you have to, it's a pop-in event. Like you can come in whenever you want, you can leave whenever you want. Like that might help as well. I think just based on like how these events usually work, it's kind of nice for it to be condensed just so that that time is really active and really meaningful. Like within that, like imagine 5 hours of meaningful time. Like that's like kind of hard for me to imagine. Whereas like, 2 to, max 3 might be like really good, meaningful time spent together. And so I guess maybe just like thinking about how we can accommodate everybody, but also still like maintain the integrity of like what we want this to look like and like what we want people to get out of it. Just finding a balance between those two things would be helpful. Yeah, definitely. And I think part of what I'm not trying to speak for Ruben, but I did agree that if we could all be there, that would be really stellar, just because, I mean, we're the 5 people that are like the most active right now. And I think our presence is important if it's possible for all of us to be there, just because like we're cheerleaders of this, right? Like we want this to work and we want to show people that, we're here and we're excited to meet them and all that. And it's definitely not a requirement that we're all there. It was just like, it's ideal, but not necessary, And I think that's all I had. Sorry, that was like a whole lot.
No, it was really helpful to hear. I think one of my thoughts also, as you were talking, was it occurred to me that there is so much variation in the way that people work socially and in our time zones and in just the demographics that we have, not just talking about, specific intersections, but like we have people who are bakers, who might go to bed too early because they have to wake up at 5 a.m. to break bread. We have people who are professors, so they'll have Fridays off. So Friday's perfect, but they also might have faculty meetings and they might be socialized out. And I think what it is we're gonna just have to let the membership kind of shape it and ask them at the meetings and ask them through the Discord, like, we're having a really great time. I enjoy doing this, but it would be really cool if we could get more people engaged. What are y'all's ideas on how we can do that? Because I think what it is we're sitting here pontificating theoreticals, and I think that might be part of why it's hard for us to come to like it's not difficult or impossible for us to come to an agreement, but it's hard for us to have like clear cut yes or no's, because I agree with everything that's been said, but it's also difficult to say like, well, I could see how that could also not work for somebody, or like for me, if I saw that an event, specifically a social event, was going to be 5 hours, I do have the automatic no, which comes from social anxiety and like a lot of social trauma. So I immediately would be like, I'm out, I can't do this, and I wouldn't sign up for it. But at the same time, somebody might see 2 hours and go, well, that's not enough, but I don't know if it's going to make them shy away from it, I know I'm getting very specific with like minutia in people's lives, but I think it's really important that we consider intersections when we talk about how we're going to kind of frame this. Kay said, yeah, especially if we have multiple events. And then Olivia said, if there's an event I can only make for 1 hour out of 3, I wouldn't attend. Yeah, I really do think it is just two sides of a coin. Well, I guess we're more like a dodecahedron if we want to start getting into the intersections of people's lives. But you know, it's just kind of, I think it's good that we're trying out the 2-hour format to see if there's even an interest, and then we can have conversations and come back to it and try the longer format or multiples in 1 month, or you know, something like that, and experiment with it until we get it to the point where it needs to be. Yeah, I don't know. I know that's not really resolving anything. It's just saying everyone's right, but everyone is, you know. And Steph says, yeah, I do think Steph says that knowledge will come from doing and being clear when explaining that it is long, so all time zones can attend. Yeah, just doing it and learning from it, you know. We're blind printing.
Yeah, and I feel like eventually, I don't know what the time frame looks like, but after we sort of establish like that this is like a regular thing we want to do within the community, like a volunteer might want to lead them, and then, you know, they just host it, which would be amazing, because like guild membership, being involved and feeling empowered, like that is 100% the goal. And yeah, hopefully we can like pass it, you know, we could start this thing, and then they do whatever they want, whether it's volunteers or just members or whatever. They just get together and hang out and share their work together.
And I also think, you know, as we grow internationally, I did say something about like we will have this kind of breakout sessions because of the time zones, but also I am 100% like a night person. I shouldn't be. I get more things done when I'm not, but I might be into the idea of going to something that's being held in a German time zone just because that's how I'm working at that time. Like, especially when you teach night classes, at least in my personal experience, I don't go to bed for several hours after that because I'm processing everything that happened in class, you know? So it could be that honestly 10 to midnight works better for some people, you know? So I do think it's just starting with a growth mindset, you know? Yeah, starting small, seeing where we go, and then making them bigger, and always valuing the input of our team members. So now what's been announced the past couple of weeks is the 2-hour event. I would really like to see how the Instagram kind of gets people engaged. I'm hoping we can get this out to them like 2 weeks before the actual event, so which I'll put in the email, so that there's enough time for people to plan for it. But you know, considering how it can grow in the future, I think this was a really good conversation, giving us those ideas of like, you know, if this doesn't work, or if people say that was really fun, I wish there was more, or that was really fun. I heard from my friend who got to go, because that's something that does happen a lot. I heard from my friend who got to go, but I had to work. It'd be cool if I could go to the next one. You know, if we get that kind of feedback, then we know where to go from there, you know, and we have ideas to try. So good job, everyone. Okay, so does that feel resolved? Do we feel like these are all good ideas to keep in our minds, or do we want to keep hashing this out? Cool. Okay, so then the next section is our general stuff. I did mention previously, so I have actually been getting some response from people who would like to volunteer, just by sending out the basic email or the basic kind of notification. I guess I should call it a call, the basic call in the newsletter. But we do still need to actively check in with people who have signed up to be volunteers before. I haven't gotten around to doing that yet, but I can try to in the future. Or if someone else is able to help me with that, that would be phenomenal. And that would just essentially involve going through our mailing list document. It's the same document there that lists anybody who previously said they could volunteer. This was almost a year ago that they said that they could volunteer for some people. So I don't know if it's relevant for us to come back to them, but we could always give it a shot.
Yeah, I can help. Just let me know like what day you want to get together and do that, and I can totally help.
Perfect. So I'm actually going to look at my calendar real quick because we might as well do this right now. Would you be able to do that next Thursday?
What time are you thinking on Thursday?
I think any time is good, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I have 3 to 5 open and 9 to 1.
Okay, so it's 2 to 4 for me. That works perfectly. 2 to 4 or 3 to 5 for you.
Sounds good.
Let me put it in here. And that's the 25th, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Cool. So I think we only really need like a handful of more volunteers, but I do think it's a good idea for us to do the action of recruiting so that people understand that we're getting close to incorporation, and we might start doing elections relatively soon. Just saying like, hello, we're still here. So the last thing is any additional issues or opportunities. And I actually wrote something down that Jennifer Max Watkins sent me right before we started talking. And then another question that occurred to me while I was looking at the Discord earlier. So I think since we're talking about events, or we just finished talking about events, I'm gonna just say, so Jennifer actually suggested we do peer critiques as a future event, which would be cool. I kind of just wanted to get that out into y'all's brains as like an idea to percolate. I really, really like that idea because that is kind of the purpose of the guild for me, is creating not just community, but also personal improvement in whatever way that feels for people who may not feel supported in the environment that they're in. I definitely know that there were times in grad school where I would have loved to have somebody not on my committee look at my art. But I also now don't get any kind of real concrete opportunities for feedback because I'm kind of working in not a vacuum, but a closed community. And I know, especially with COVID, we have not had, any real opportunities. So I'm curious what y'all think about that idea. This would also be something that's like significantly down the line, but it would be something we would need to think about the time frames. This would also be something I would lean stronger into it being either more time or based on each individual area, like time zone. So that's something else to think about too. But does that sound like a cool thing we'd be into at some point?
Can you repeat what the thing was? I feel like I missed it.
Yes, it's peer critiques. So essentially signing up for critique time slots. And the way that so Jennifer sent me an Instagram link. So I'm actually gonna look at it now, so I'm not making anything up.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Yeah. Yes, so they have them from 7 to 9, the place that is offering them virtually. They're designed to provide clear, instructive feedback in a supportive environment. And essentially, you're not really signing up for an individual time slot. You're just signing up for that 2-hour period and then figuring it out. So we can get into the logistics of it later. But I do think the general notion would be really cool, personally.
I agree. It sounds great. Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I'm going to put that on the feature board. Okay, and then the last thought that I had that I have a lot of questions about is, so I've been looking at the Discord off and on, and it occurred to me another Discord server that I'm part of restructured recently to kind of clean up some stuff. My question is, and this is for everybody who's in charge of a team, obviously we're not talking about YouTube or anything like that, but anything that Ruben is involved in expressly. But I wondered if we should eliminate the unused categories. So a category that's not used very frequently is the incorporation. Pretty much nobody uses that except me and Chelsea and Kay, and sometimes Ruben. YouTube, I know Ruben does rely on that to talk more to people. Mailing list, I don't think we've ever really used that one. Oh, we have in the early days, but it hasn't really been used that much since then. My concern about consolidating some of them, specifically the volunteer ones, is that things are going to get lost. Specifically when it comes to like, well, I mean, if design doesn't use the Discord anymore, then that won't matter.
It doesn't have to be things like, it doesn't have to be big things, but consolidate like a lot of the introduction and puppy pictures and like all of that, like consolidate
the community.
Consolidate some of the get to know you. And then just cutting back on things we don't use. Just streamline.
So
I'm
going to ask some specifics right now, just so I get an idea of what we're doing and so that I have some feedback on this too. So there are a couple of Discord servers I'm a part of. One of them just consolidated so that they had like an area that was the community picture area basically, and they actually consolidated all of that into just photos basically. So that is something we could do. Like I could consolidate pet photos, plants into one thing.
As well as memes and
memes, thank you. And then one channel that's not really used often is Show Your Work, which is kind of a bummer. It'd be really cool for people to show their work.
I think you could always just put opportunities. I think some of it is like the way they're categorized also. So like, because I feel like critiques, opportunities, and show your work could all be put into something together.
So I might resist you on the opportunities one, but I do see what you're saying about show your work and critiques. Those do sound very similar. I'm actually just going to delete show your work because critiques basically is the same thing. And I do like when the critique channel pops off. That's really fun.
Well, and then critiques and recommendations could be potentially put together, or recommendations could be put with, because recommendations is such a broad topic. So are we talking about recommendations of places to go, recommendations of like how to put together a shop or a print process? Like what is recommendation? Because it's recommendations about how we're running RIPG, I would put that somewhere else potentially. So I think a lot of it could be.
So I'm again going to bog you down with specifics. What I'm thinking now that I'm hearing what you're saying is, I'm phrasing it in a weird way in my head, so hold on. If I were to actually dissect recommendations, right? One thing that's showed up on recommendations before is recipes, and then another thing is printmaking. So do we want to just do separate things where it's like recipes instead of recommendations, and one that literally just says printmaking info, basically.
But see, that's still adding things. I really think we just need to streamline, because looking at this, I have to, it's a lot.
Yeah, I can see that. I have been in Discord channels before where there aren't enough, and it gets obnoxious, specifically because the good thing about Discord is you can shut off notifications for certain categories. So like gripes, nobody has to listen to that. If you only want to ever hear opportunities, you can do that. It's the only thing that's ever going to notify you. So that's part of where I'm a little bit resistant on some of this stuff, like memes and pet photos and plants. I don't mind them all becoming one thing. And I'm actually going to write that down real quick. Plus, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who posts any memes in the first place. I do still think introductions should be separate. People have really used that a lot, which has been nice. And then, hold on just a second. Opportunities have been utilized a lot to share jobs, to share shows, etc. And that's always really exciting. Pet photos has been used a lot too. I'm the only person who sends memes. Do we want to keep that channel? I mean, Ruben responds to them, but.
I mean, all I'm saying is, I think a lot of these could be consolidated. Like we just have all of this in chit chat, and people could put whatever they want in chit chat. We don't have to have a specific thread for pets. We don't have to have a specific thread for plants. We don't have to have a specific thread for memes. Like all of that can just happen in chit chat. Because chit chat's broad. It could be, to me, that means you can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, that's true. The biggest issue with that is it becomes incredibly chaotic.
I'm also
specifically, the specific issue is it becomes very, very difficult to reply to anyone because people are replying to things as they see them. The thing about Discord is it's less of a chat service and more of like an RSS feed. And the biggest problem with that is that I might ask a question that's just like a chit chat question, but it's not going to be seen by somebody who might want to answer it for like, who knows how long. So that's my biggest concern with completely eliminating things. It's also part of the reason that I picked the community categories that I did is to show people how to engage. That is what helped me when I first started using Discord, was like saying, oh, I can share pet photos. Cool. Because people will not know that capability necessarily. If they've never ever opened Discord in their whole life, they're not going to necessarily go, oh, I could like show a picture of my pet right now.
But someone in the chit chat section, and they'd see the same thing, like, oh, people are posting pet photos. I can post.
But then they would essentially have to go back all the way to the very beginning to see that. So that's kind of the issue.
That depends on when they see it, is my point. Like, we are a print guild. I don't see why we need to have.
So you just want to talk about printmaking?
No, I'm just saying I don't see why we have to have specific categories for these things when it could just all go under chit chat. And if people, it seems like a lot of people are constantly on it because I'm getting notifications about, oh, this person just joined, this person's talking, like they're just having conversations. So I'm like, I think.
Almost none of that happens in the chit chat though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if everything is consolidated into chit chat and people are actively using it and people are seeing, like when they get on, they see people are posting these things, they're going to see that without that prompt. I'm saying, because part of printmaking is everything in the sense that like it's a studio practice, right? It's about being together and building community. So I'm not saying we should talk only about printmaking and nothing else. I'm just saying I don't think we have to allocate specific channels to these things that have nothing to do with printmaking on its surface, because it's just a lot. Like going to Discord and seeing all of these channels and trying to and thinking I have to hop into all of these and see what people are talking about and participate in every single one. It's a lot.
So essentially, what you're saying is you're overwhelmed by the variety of conversations you could be a part of. And because of that, you would just prefer it if everything was one big, long, essentially text thread.
Yes and no.
Right?
Yes and no. I'm just
Okay.
thinking we don't need to have. I'm overwhelmed and things don't seem streamlined to me. Like, it doesn't seem like we need specific categories for these things, for the specific ones I mentioned. That is all I'm saying. Like, we do not need a specific thread for plants. Because then what if someone
Yeah,
was,
I agree about the plant one.
and then we
I
create.
think I only made it because somebody recommended it.
I'm just
I
saying,
haven't
like, what
used it
if
since
there's
then.
multiple things people want to talk about? Are we going to create a thread for all those multiple things when we could just put it all under chit chat and things can happen organically? I feel like we're trying to structure too much and it's unnecessary. And then it's
So
just
I think I am going to lean into what Kay said as well, because I see what you're saying. What you're saying would horribly overwhelm me. I would not know how to get into any conversation. There are a couple of, I've mentioned, there are a few that I have been a part of that are basically just one big long chit chat thread, and they freak me out and I don't know how to engage in them, because by the time I'm looking at them, I'm catching up on 15 different conversations. And then it's like, do I reply to these? It feels like I don't need to reply to any of this. I guess whatever, okay. But I also have a like really strong, deep-seated hatred for group chats. I hate them. Our group chat for the interim board is fine because we have like a specific cohesive thing we're talking about. But whenever it turns into like social stuff, I get super overwhelmed and I shut off. But I do think that what Kay is saying about, because we're talking, I'm hearing your preference coming through. I'm also talking about my preference. I think we should talk about this with the people on Discord who are actually using it, because it could be that they do want things simplified, but it could also be that people are like, no, I don't want to do that. I still want to keep pet photos, or I still want to keep specifically opportunities, just because that's something that would be annoying to have to fully scroll all the way back through to see. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to keep centering one types of needs over other people. Because again, we're talking about literally how my brain works versus your brain. So asking them specifically as a group what they want to do sounds fine to me. I think I'll do that through the announcements and then Discord how-tos. I will also say some of these are modeled after like community specific Discords, where literally they are about a community, not about, I'm going to measure my words carefully here, not about a professional community, but about a community period. And they wild out with their topics. Like the place that just trims stuff down, they still have like 15 to 20 channels. So I am modeling it off of something that is more complicated. So I don't mind kind of trimming it down, but I don't want to go fully into the eliminating all categories, period, into story, because I think that might be wild for other people. So again, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm also going to see what everybody else thinks in the Discord who are actively using it and see how they feel. No, I know you didn't say that. I didn't mean to make it sound facetiously like that. But like kind of eliminating all of those specifics, I guess, is what I should have said. So I'm going to ask them, see what they want to do, see what is working for them too. Like, I don't know what works for them. All I can really see is like guess from this perspective. Like chit chat sometimes has people getting involved. Memes is pretty much just me. Occasionally I get some replies there. Pet photos has been pretty popular, but that's all I really have is the idea of popularity to go on. Whether that's actually what's working or not, I don't know. So I think it's definitely a good idea to put it into the general discourse on Discord to see what people want to do. Okay. So can you reiterate what it is that you want to do, Olivia, so that I can write it down as one of the options?
I would just like us to look at streamlining the categories.
Okay. I also want to do that, but more specifically, you were talking about putting everything in the community in the chit chat, because that was what I was understanding, but that might not be true.
That is not what I was suggesting.
Okay, so I misunderstood.
I will type it out.
Okay, please. That would definitely help me, because I want to make sure I'm not, my misunderstanding is not bleeding into the conversation about this. And then I think there's like a vote function I could use on Discord to decide what to do with the different categories as well. But I think I'd rather have like qualitative responses, not like numerical, and say like, well, the majority said this. Because the thing that really occurs to me is that there are varying levels of like usage for Discord and experience with Discord. So it could be that there's somebody on there that's like, yeah, I'd love to have all of these different categories, blah, blah, blah. Like one of Ruben's volunteers asked for more specific categories in the YouTube section. So then he made those, and that's a different issue altogether. But it could be that somebody asks for something more specific in the community too. And then if a bunch of people are voting that up, then that might be what we end up doing. I'd rather do that than just say, here are options, pick one, you know, just so we can get some really qualitative input, because somebody might have a better third or fifth or sixth option, you know. Okay.
Do we think we could continue this in like a text thread? I have to leave, and we've also been spending time on this while recording, and I just think that it would be good to move it to text.
Yes, I think that's good. That was, I think, my last idea. I didn't mean for it to take as much time as it did. Was there any other input on that? On not that, on additional issues or opportunities? We can also go straight into text from here if you want to.
I didn't have anything else. I feel like today was really productive.
Okay. Cool. Cool. All right, then I'm gonna stop recording. We can continue doing this through a text thread. Thank you everybody for all your help today and for all the external perspective. And yeah, cool.